Heat waves and floods have been setting records all over the world this summer. On the West Coast, temperatures of over 100 degrees are fueling wildfires. Hundreds of thousands of acres have already been burned. Highs in Scandinavia and Siberia are soaring well above average. And on Monday, Japan saw its highest ever recorded temperature, 106 degrees. And the east coast of the U.S., which experienced a heat wave in early July, is now under flash flood warnings. Heavy downpours Monday have already submerged streets in Pennsylvania, and storms are expected to continue throughout the week. CBS News weather producer David Parkinson joins us now. David, the West has just been experiencing record heat this summer. What's it like right now?
Well, so it's kind of shifted, right? So over the weekend, it was Texas that was broiling in 110-degree heat. Now that movement has shifted to the West. So Phoenix is hitting a record today. They're going to be 116, 117, somewhere in that neighborhood. Palm Springs is going to hit 121. Look at these high temperatures. There it is.
Are these records?
Almost everyone on here is a record. So Palm Springs is a record, Yuma's a record, Phoenix is a record, Tucson's a record.
Oh my gosh.
And believe it or not, these ones further north are not actually records, but you can see that Palm Springs is at 120 plus for 2 days in a row.
Can human beings actually live outside in that kind of heat?
It's very unpleasant. The only time I've ever been out in that kind of heat was actually a couple years ago in the south of Israel, and basically you walk off the bus and the wind makes you hotter. Like, it's just totally oppressive. The good news is...
But you can survive.
Yes, you can survive, but it's absolutely... You can't for 5 minutes leave your car unattended with anything in it. That's obviously a huge problem.
Wow.
But, you know, these are some really high temperatures. The interesting thing is that 93 in Portland is not a record. We're seeing near 90-degree temperatures in Seattle, but we're actually breaking records there, too. So Seattle... in a typical July, has 4 85-degree days or higher.
Do we know why this is happening? I mean, so many records at one time. What's going on?
It's a stuck pattern is really the answer of what's going on. So essentially, the reason why you're getting all this rain in the east is also the reason why you're getting the heat in the west. You've got this bottleneck in the jet stream, so everything is jammed up and nothing can move. And that's why for the next 10 days in the east, we're looking at rain, and potentially for the next 10 days in the west, they're looking at this oppressive heat.
So this rain is related?
Yes, it is. So here's what's going on. You've got what's called a tropical moisture fetch, if you will. So the rain is coming up from the Bahamas, and it's just making a beeline right for the northeast. And what's happening is it's getting funneled around a high that's over the Atlantic Ocean, and then around another high that's the heat in the west. And you got a low just plopped up over Detroit, and it's spinning more and more storms in. It's what we call an atmospheric river. You get these training moisture showers, and if you take a look at how much rain we're looking over this week, you can see half a foot of rain or more is possible in a lot of places along the East Coast. And the heaviest rain is right now in the D.C. up to Harrisburg area today. That'll shift east tomorrow, so New York gets in it. And that'll be some of the wettest weather that we've had so far.
So, Dan, that's what's going on in the U.S., but we're also seeing record highs in Siberia and Scandinavia. What's going on in the rest of the world?
Right. So the backside of that high ends up being in Europe. So essentially what happens is you've got the high over the west coast, you've got the high over the Atlantic, and you've got that tropical jet there. But here's... Oh, that was the right graphic, guys, if you want to go back. But the interesting thing about it is that what happens is you've got all of the jet stream kinked all the way up to the north. So you're getting heat into Europe that is 10, 15, 20 degrees above normal in parts of Scandinavia. You're seeing those numbers that we had a record in Japan, the highest record ever for that country at 106 yesterday.
Wow.
So you're looking at these temperatures that are abnormal, and part of what's going on is when you have less of a difference between temperatures in the Arctic and temperatures down in, you know, the equatorial region and around the Tropic of Cancer and that area, the problem is that you don't have the balancing effect. So air moves between those two zones. That helps sort of equal things out. But when there's not as much of a difference, things don't move as fast, and you get these stuck patterns. And that's the concern that when we talk about global warming, it's way too soon to say this particular pattern is because of that. But what we do know is that if you have a warming Arctic, that's bad because everything slows down, things stay longer, and that's where you run into the position that we're in now with high heat in some areas and a lot of rain in others.
A lot of rain. All right, Dan Parkinson, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks.
Sorry.